So I had a really big thing happen to me when I met Jean Jacquin. Knowing her has changed the trajectory of my life. Jean attended Colorado College in the 1930s, became a teacher, was a world traveler. And she had all these beautiful, colorful, eclectic clothes in her closet. She was an amazing woman to know. And over the years, she started having strokes and then more strokes, and she went through the continuum of care and eventually ended up in a skilled care nursing facility where she had to be transferred from her bed to the wheelchair, to the bathroom, down to the lunchroom. And the easiest thing to put on her was this hospital gown, because from her strokes she was so stiff and had very little movement in her upper body. So she wore a hospital gown. Every morning I walk into my closet and I look at the clothes in front of me and I think about what I'm going to do and who I'm going to see that day, and I pick out something and I put it on and I look in the mirror, and then maybe I go, oh, this isn't quite right, and I change my clothes. Sometimes, no, it could be 2 or 3 times to get it right. Right for the day, right for the weather, right for who I'm going to see, but even more importantly, right for me. What does that mean, right for me? Well, it means that I feel comfortable in my own skin, and the clothing is just an additional skin, isn't it, that we put on to go into the world. And getting it right makes me be able to feel powerful, confident, and open. Open because I can leave my ego at the door and go out into the world knowing that I'm me, and be fully focused on what's in front of me and what's outside of me and what's next to me and where I am. But if I don't get it right, if I get it wrong and like, I have a stain, or this is too short, or I'm uncomfortable, it's too tight, then I got it wrong. And then the rest of the day I'm sort of thinking about, I wish I hadn't worn this. And so I'm distracted and I'm more inhibited and maybe a little bit more withdrawn. Well, Jean lost the ability to go into that beautiful closet and pick out something from her eclectic travels all over the world when she got into that nursing home. People made that choice for her of the hospital gown. And I noticed a few things about that. Not only was she always cold because this little skimpy hospital gown in her frail body, her neck and shoulders were cold, her legs were cold, her arms were cold. But I also noted something else, that people didn't see what I knew this woman, who I knew this woman was, which was this incredibly interesting, educated, fascinating woman. It was sort of like it was gray. One night, I had a dream about a jacket for Jean. A jacket that would bring back some of that personhood for her, some of that fun, some color. But it would also be warm and easy to get on and keep her neck and shoulders warm now. And I got up in the middle of the night and I sketched that jacket and went back to bed. And in the morning, I looked at those sketches and I really tried to disregard it because I didn't have a background in apparel or design. But that dream was so persistent. It just said, make that jacket. So I had that jacket made up by somebody who could identify the features that I had created in this dream. And the other interesting thing that happened at that time is all these other ideas started tumbling into my head of other garments that would be really easy for Jean to use to get on and off. Things that would be colorful, would comfort her, would give her back a little more dignity. So when I took that jacket to Jean, there was a woman in the corner. She was a nurse assistant or a nurse practitioner. And I put this jacket on and it went on so quickly and it was so easy. Her little arms just fell into the sleeves, didn't hurt at all. And she just took her arms and went like this. Oh, this feels so good. And the color was beautiful and it kept her neck and shoulders warm. My husband and I started looking and saying, well, surely there are other people who have felt this way about their loved one, or there must be some research about this, or there must be other things for Jean. And we found a little bit of Velcro and moo-moo type things that were not really that dignity enhancing product. But the thing we stumbled on, which I'm so grateful for, is this growing wealth of research on clothing and the importance of clothing, even with people that have severe dementia. We discovered Professor Julia Twigg from Kent University outside of London, and she had done a study on clothing and dementia and wrote about it. And as we read down her research, we were so moved because here was research that confirmed and affirmed everything that I saw with Jean and felt intrinsically inside me, that it mattered. It mattered to her. Julia talks about a 2-year study that was done in Kent, both in terms of nursing homes and skilled care as well as in residences. And they did various kinds of things through this research to find out, does clothing really matter? And one of the fun ones they did was some of the people that had a little bit of dementia but were still active and able to converse with them, they would do these wardrobe events where they would go into their closet with the person and say, what do you like about this? Tell us about your clothes. And they'd get comments like, that's my color. I love that color. I'm a blue person. I always wear blue. And yeah, I love dresses because I really think that women should wear dresses, and I feel so feminine when I wear a dress. Or they'd say, oh, that one over there, I've never worn it. Somebody bought it for me. It's a bold print. I hate bold prints. These people had real sense about what they wanted to wear. And a common theme they would say is, that's me or that's not me. Well, what does that mean? I think it means the second skin that they have, if it felt like it was their personhood, that was them. So more research in this. There was a woman who was not able to talk, and she had been quite advanced in her dementia, and she had been a dressmaker all her life. And they had some pieces of fabric out in front, and she reached for this silk and this velvet from this array of fabrics and took it up and held it in her hand and started to smile. And there was something deep inside her that was resonating with her personhood, with some memory, with some identity. That was her. There's another, then there was a gentleman whose mother was in one of these assisted living or skilled care nursing who was quite advanced in her dementia. And he made a commitment to himself and to his mother that she would always be dressed in the outfits that were normal for her. So even though it was a little more effort, the staff would put on this suit, and she had beautiful white hair, and he'd come in and he'd be able to spot his mom right away from this sea of gray. And he noticed a couple other things. Not only did she look really great, but she also was treated differently by the staff. They seemed to assume that she was more capable than the people around her, which were her equals. It was so interesting. And they also, the comfort factor and the idea that the clothes were now a symbol of social interaction, because you couldn't not say something to her. Oh, Mrs. Smith, you look so beautiful today. Or that's such a great color. I always love that suit. So now there's an additional social interaction that I noticed with Jean too. And then there was a woman, this research came from Pia Cantos from the University of Toronto, and she witnessed in her work with dementia and clothing, this woman who was sitting at a table, and they had a big bib on her so that she wouldn't spill clothes and stain her blouse. And they watched how she delicately went behind the bib and pulled out this beautiful strand of pearls and put them on top of the bib. What happened there? There's something deep inside her, even with dementia, where she could no longer speak, that felt strongly that this was part of her personhood, that this is how she wanted to be seen, that this was normal, that this was authentic. When my mother-in-law was getting out of the hospital but moving into rehab, she sent us off with a list of things to get from her house that she thought would be just her. So on the list my favorite pair of jeans, my favorite shirt, my favorite pajamas, my favorite, most comfortable shoes. Those were on her list. And even though this particular place where she was staying sort of frowned on people dressing in jeans, it didn't matter to her. Because she looked great in that, she felt great in that, and that was her. I had a really dear friend who had a very serious cancer diagnosis that required some pretty heavy-duty chemotherapy. And she said, I don't know what to wear. So I loaned her some of the things that by then we had created. And she sent this picture. She's got one hand on the IV pole, and the other hands are out like this, stretched. And she said, I feel like I can dance the cancer right out of my life. Clothing matters. Clothing matters a lot. I'm going to challenge all of us as we go into our closets in the morning and pick out what we want and maybe even change our clothes once or twice, to spend a moment in just gratitude for that ability. But also think about some of those people in your life that maybe have lost the ability to make those choices for themselves. It's been taken away because of illness or age or dementia. And what can we do for them? My dear, dear friend who has been taking care of her aunt, who was 97 and just passed away recently, and she was in hospice. And Aunt Louise loved clothes and loved to be dressed really beautifully. And it was probably a month before she died, and Patty was going off to Scotland on a little vacation. And Aunt Louise said to Patty, Patty, bring me back a beautiful sweater from Scotland. I challenge all of us to find those beautiful sweaters for the ones we love that can no longer find them for themselves. Thank you very much. This is basically the jacket that I had the dream about, and I'm going to show it to you and why it was so easy for Jean. You see it has a big, deep raglan sleeve, but it went over her head really quickly, and then her little arms could just fall into the jacket. The kangaroo pocket was wonderful for Jean because she could go to the lunchroom and take a little cookie back. It kept her neck and shoulder area warm, zipper. And then in the back, and she all want me to turn around, it overlapped in the back to close. But when she was in bed, I could separate it so that she could lay down on the bed and not have any breakdown of skin, but still keep her neck and shoulder area warm. So this was the Easy Wear jacket, the first Janska jacket. I'm going to show you another one. This piece is called the lap wrap shawl. It's a patented design, which is unusual for fashion to be patented. And it's 2 garments in one. It's a beautiful shawl, again, that just keeps Jean's neck and shoulder area warm. Has this wonderful faux horn button that feels great in the hand. It's almost kind of like a wishing stone. It's so lovely. And a little pocket for tissues. But what's great about this, it has this flattering contour to the side. It can be worn out or in or as a bed jacket. So it's also this beautifully handsome contoured lap blanket. So when Jean was sitting in her wheelchair, it would just go along the floor, but it wouldn't drag on the floor. And it would tuck in against her wheelchair and make it really comfortable and safer for her. We wanted to create a jacket that could be streetwear, but also could be a bed jacket, that somebody who's in bed could just cozy up and nestle down and sleep with it, but it would be perfect for going out to the doctor or going out to lunch. But again, it's a little bit wider sleeve so that somebody who had mobility issues could easily get this on, looking very lovely. We had a gentleman whose partner was going through cancer treatment who had a jacket similar to this from us. And he wrote and said, I knew your things would be important for my partner, but I had no idea they would be indispensable. She wears them day and night, and they give her a sense of security and hope because they're so comforting. So this is a little bed jacket and street jacket. Thank you.